and welcome to the Hold On Sit On podcast. Happy July, happy summer. It has been a minute since I've recorded a solo episode. I think it's been almost 2 months. Okay, it's been a month and a half, so it's been a little bit. Today's episode is about anxiety and managing it, and I'm excited to talk about this. Well, not like excited, but I am looking forward to finally doing this episode because it has been, like I said a couple episodes ago, it has been on my list of topics to talk about with this podcast because anxiety is such a huge part of mental health. And so first things first, I just wanted to say I'm not an expert. I haven't studied psychology or psychiatry. I just do these episodes to share what works for me and things I've learned through trial and error. And I have been in therapy since I was 4, basically, because I grew up with a dad that had depression. So my mom put me in therapy like as soon as she could so that I could work on not controlling, but like deciphering what feelings were and how to manage them. Although like a child can't do that, but you know what I mean. Just kind of like learn how to handle my feelings, I guess is the best way to put it. So in this episode, I'm just kind of sharing things that help me personally with my anxiety, things that I do time and time again to help me get through when I'm feeling anxious. And even if you don't have anxiety or you haven't been diagnosed with anxiety, we all go through anxious moments. It's just an emotion that lives inside us. If you've seen the movie Inside Out, you know that anxiety appears at some point in our life and it stays there. She's not, or he's not going anywhere. They are there. And I kind of just wanted to talk about like how you can't really control it, but you can manage it. So like think of your anxiety as a little person inside your head, and you just need to manage her or him to create the best end result. One story I wanted to tell because it happened yesterday. I had a procedure done at a radiology office, and I've had this procedure done before. And the last time I had it, I started blacking out, and then I like got sick. I've been like trying to push it out of my mind that wouldn't happen this time, especially because the procedure was happening on a different part of my body, like not the exact same part. I did have anxiety about it though. Like it was still like sitting inside me that like you could get sick from this. You could have a traumatic experience again, because it was traumatic. Like when your whole body gets hot and you feel like you're going to black out or get sick, those are things that you can't control, and it's a very scary feeling. I just kept telling myself like, you'll be fine, you can handle this. And I did actually say out loud a couple times yesterday, like, you got this, you can handle this, you're strong. And I'm not sure if that made a difference, but I know talking to yourself positively does make a difference. I've witnessed it in myself. I've witnessed it in friends. I've witnessed it in kids I teach dance to. When I have them say things out loud, it makes a huge impact because you believe what you hear, even if it's just coming from yourself. Another thing I did once the procedure started, well, first I was like, can you get a cold cloth for me? And so they did, and I like put it on the back of my neck, and because that's something physical I know helps me. And that actually might be something that could physically help you too. Putting a cold cloth on you may have a calming effect because it's a physical sensation. And cold, I believe, has some kind of sensory thing that slows things down instead of heat I feel like speeds it up. I could totally be making that up. I didn't research that, but I feel as though that sounds logical. But if I'm wrong, don't come at me. Sorry. So he put the cold cloth on me, and then I started singing. That was the first thing that came to my mind, was music is something that helps me with my emotions. If I am having overwhelming feelings, anxiety, anything that's too overpowering, I will listen to music and it takes me to a different place. And so in my head, as he was like about to begin, part of me wanted to ask him to play music, but then I was like, this is a doctor's office. Like, I don't think he will do that. So I just started singing myself. I started singing a song kind of to myself, but like I was like saying the words. I wasn't just like mouthing them. I was like actually singing, but like not at a decibel that anyone could hear, because I don't know. I'm not a singer. So, but that was the first thing I did. And then he goes and tells me everything that's happening as it's happening, which I hate, because I would rather not know. Like, my head was turned to the side. He was on this side of me. And I had my head turned to the side because I didn't want to visually see what was happening. And I don't want to gross anyone out, but basically they had to use a needle on me, and that was the part that was getting me anxious. And from what I know, I didn't look at it, but from what I've researched, the needle is like this big. So thinking about a needle that size going into my body, obviously if you're listening to this, you can't see, but it's like at least a foot long. And sorry if people get queasy with needles, but I just wanted to explain the context if you're like, what the heck was she getting done? So cold cloth, singing, and then I started box breathing, which is something my therapist had told me about. So you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts, you exhale for 4 counts, and you hold for 4 counts. And I just kept doing that. So, because as he was starting and he was telling me what to do, he was like, just take a deep breath. He was telling me the sensations I was going to feel before I felt them too, which I don't know if that was helping or harming. He's like, you're going to feel a pinch and a burn. And I'm just, in my head, my wheels are turning and I'm like, a burn, like, ah. But singing and box breathing, that helped. And then he was like, you're going to feel it start to go down your arm. And after he said that, I was like, oh my God, like, we're not even close to done. But then he's like, okay, we're done. So I was like, oh wow, like, I completed this procedure and I didn't get sick and I didn't pass out. So I just was like, they asked me how I was, and I was like, I'm very queasy right now. I'm just going to stay right here. Can I have another cold cloth? So they gave me another one. I put it on like my face. And yeah, so that is what helped me with my anxiety that was turning physical. Cold cloth, singing, boxed breathing. And those are just some examples. Sometimes if something is happening, a lot of the times I get anxious about things that I have no control over. So there's literally nothing I can do to change the anxious feeling, because I'm just thinking about what's happening or what's going to happen, and I have no control over that. And that's where a lot of my anxiety stems from. So one thing I've learned from therapy is distraction is something that helps me. So I can't just sit there and think about it. Like, I have to do something. So one time this happened to me in the middle of the night, and so there was nowhere for me to go. So instead I just turned on the TV and started watching one of my favorite shows, and I eventually did fall asleep. But cleaning my house is something that helps me, because I'm focusing on something that's distracting me and it's actually accomplishing something productive. So that is good. You're like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. doing something physical, going for a walk, or if you enjoy like kickboxing, yoga, Pilates, dance, anything that you're actually moving your body, because you're creating endorphins when you are exercising, even if you're just going for a walk outside. And so creating endorphins make people happy. And so that is pushing in more happiness and trying to push out the anxiety. Journaling is something that helps me. If there's something that is sitting inside my head, it feels really good to write it down. Some people like to type. I usually will handwrite, or at least I used to. I feel like I've switched over to typing now though. But getting it out of your body and onto paper. And if I write it down, especially if it's something very negative, like something I'm feeling that's negative, something that's bothering me, I'll write it down and then I'll like rip it up and throw it away because I don't want it to exist in the world. So I get it out of my body and then I dispose of it. My one friend is like, light that on fire, which I've never done. But if I had a fire pit or a grill, I might try that too, because I bet that's very satisfying as well. Like watching the bad things, the bad thoughts that were in you on a surface and then just lit up in flames. Like, bye, we don't need you. Get out of here. Talking to a therapist is something that can help if you have a therapist or if it's something you've considered doing. 2 weeks ago, I was dealing with something as well, something that happened, and I found out late at night. And it was very triggering. I had a very hard time sleeping. I don't think I used any of my tips to help myself sleep, which is not good of me. But the one thing I did was I texted my therapist the next morning and I asked her if we could talk that day, because I was having like the overpowering anxious feeling. It was like manifesting my whole body. It was all I could think about. And that was the one thing I wanted to do, because she will give me suggestions and we'll talk about things and try to figure out a way how to cope with the anxiety that has been created. So that is something that helps me a lot. And you're talking to a professional, like talking to your friends is great. And that helped me as well when this specific thing happened 2 weeks ago. And that was something she said too. She said, like, you can talk to your friends and that will help you move on from this specific thing. But sometimes you want to talk to a professional too and get a professional opinion and professional advice to help you get through whatever's bothering you, if it's deep enough. Or it doesn't even have to be that deep. If it's bothering you at all and you want to talk about it, don't be afraid to reach out. There are so many talented psychiatrists and psychologists out there that want nothing more than to help people cope with things that they're struggling with. One of the things that my therapist had me do in that specific appointment 2 weeks ago, because it was something that had happened and it was traumatic. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to somebody I knew. And so what she had me do was list all the ways that I am safe. And that is something you could do with your anxiety too, because the definition of anxiety, which I was going to read at the beginning of this and I totally forgot. Anxiety may be defined as apprehension, tension, or uneasiness that stems from the anticipation of danger, which may be internal or external. And that definition comes from the National Library of Medicine website. I'm reading that off of Chapter 202, Anxiety. So anxiety is created because it thinks we're in danger. And so when I was having the triggering anxiety that I had 2 weeks ago, part of me felt like I was in danger. And so she had me list all the ways I was safe. And once I did that, it was like eye-opening. Like, you don't need to be afraid to go to sleep because this can't hurt you. You're separated from this. It's not affecting you directly. And so if you take a moment to list the ways that you're safe, that may help you in turn kind of push anxiety to the side and be like, you can't actually hurt me because of X, Y, and Z. And then speaking of listing things, listing facts can also help as well. Things that you know to be true, because anxiety can trick you. It can make you think things that aren't true. You can't believe everything you think. And I know that's easier said than done, because my anxiety has gone out on a limb to make me believe the craziest things. And some of the things that my anxiety has made up has been based on other things that have happened that have been crazy. But more likely than not, it's not what your body and your mind are picturing. It is a simpler, less stressful explanation, but your anxiety just starts spinning and spiraling, and it starts believing these imaginary thoughts are true. So take a minute to list the facts and be like, you know what? This actually might not be the case because I know that this and this are true. So that counteracts what I thought before, stuff like that. I hope that these things help. They have helped me tremendously. And again, I know it's easier said than done. It takes a lot to help yourself get through an anxious situation. Anxiety is a very strong emotion, and you can't just turn her off. So these are just some of the things that I do to help me get through them. So I'll list them again. Singing or listening to music, box breathing, distraction, doing something physical, journaling, talking to a therapist, talking to a friend, listing ways you are safe, and listing facts. And I'm sure there are other things out there that you could try as well. And you could Google it. You could talk to friends. But know that you're not alone. If you're feeling anxious about something, it will pass. You'll get through it. And there are people here for you. So stay strong. You got this. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you next month. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Our website is holdontildawn.com and our email is holdontildawn@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at holdontildawn and on Facebook at Hold On Till Dawn Benefit Concert. See you next time.